July feels like a month where the lights get turned on. So the things you've been avoiding suddenly become really obvious. This could be the job you've outgrown, the relationship you've been questioning, the business you've been saying you'll start one day, the intuitive gifts you kept talking yourself out of. They are not separate issues, they are all symptoms of the same thing. You have outgrown the identity you've been living from, and July is going to make that almost impossible to ignore. It will be in your face. Now, this has the potential to become one of the biggest turning points of the year because July isn't necessarily like creating more issues and problems for you, it's actually revealing what's already been there. And if you're someone who's been feeling very, maybe emotional lately or questioning everything and getting stronger intuitive nudges or feeling like your life doesn't fit the way it used to, then keep watching because by the end of this video, you're going to totally understand why. Now, if you're new here, I'm Jen. I am an identity and wealth mentor, and I help people stop reinforcing old versions of themselves so they can finally become the version capable of creating the life that they're actually asking for. And every month, I tune into the collective energy to help you understand the season you're moving through so you can actually work with the energy instead of fighting up against it. So July is a big one. Let's get into it. The biggest message I'm seeing is that July feels like a threshold month. So it feels like you're standing between two versions of yourself. One version feels, it's familiar, it's safe, it knows how to survive, and it knows how to keep everything exactly the same. And the other version keeps pulling at you. It's asking for more honesty, more self trust, more leadership, more visibility. So the interesting part is that nothing outside of you has to dramatically change overnight for this shift to begin. So a lot of what's going on in July is internal. And you just kind of begin seeing your own life differently. And you realize you've outgrown places you've been trying to squeeze yourself back into. And you stop negotiating with things you've already made peace with. And by the end of July, I honestly don't think many people will be thinking the same way they were at the beginning of the month. And that's what I keep coming back to, the word threshold. Now, one of the strongest themes running through July as well is intuition. And a lot of people are going to notice they're receiving more intuitive downloads than usual. Their intuition will be really expanding. More vivid dreams, more synchronicities, more moments where answers just kind of like drop in out of nowhere before your logical mind has even caught up. You might meet someone and just like instantly know whether you are aligned or not. Or you might keep thinking about the same idea over and over until you finally pay attention to it. What else? You suddenly know exactly what decision you need to make. It's obvious, even though you probably can't even explain why. And for some of you, this goes even deeper. This isn't just about like discovering gifts you didn't know you had. It's about remembering gifts you've been questioning for years. Okay, so the healing, the teaching, the creating, the leading, sharing the wisdom you've earned through your own life. So whatever keeps tapping at you on your shoulder this month, pay attention because July has a way of making it much harder to ignore. So keep a notebook close by this month and write down the intuitive nudges you're getting because I really believe you'll start taking action on them at the end of this month into August. And this is part of the reset I've been talking about if you're on my email list, okay? So the next theme that was coming through when I was tapping into the energy for leaders for July was discernment becomes your superpower. And this is probably one of my favoriteest themes, okay? Because we're going into discernment again. We spoke about this in June, the June energy update, and what and now it's coming up again for July. So over the last couple of weeks, I've actually watched people start taking influencers off pedestals. They're questioning things they would have accepted without thinking, a year ago. They're becoming less impressed by confidence and more interested in depth. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that in July. So you're going to feel the difference between someone who's lived the work and someone who's simply learned how to talk about it. You're going to notice when something sounds convincing but doesn't actually feel true. Okay? That is discernment really coming online, and I'm here for it. I'm pumped. And honestly, I think people are becoming much harder to manipulate because they're just really learning how to trust their own inner knowledge and inner knowing instead of automatically handing their authority to the loudest voice in the room. So once your discernment sharpens, something interesting happens, right? You stop looking at everyone else and you start looking at your own life, and you notice where you've been settling, where you've been shrinking or waiting for permission or grasping and holding on to an identity that doesn't actually fit anymore. So the light isn't creating misalignments this month, it's exposing it, and that can feel really uncomfortable, but I'd much rather be uncomfortable because I'm facing the truth than comfortable because I'm avoiding the truth. So if you've been ignoring the business you're meant to build, or that relationship that's run its course, or the work you're here to do, or the gifts you've been brushing aside, then don't be surprised if those things become much louder this month. Now, July isn't asking you to learn more, is what I heard when I tapped into the energy. And I was like, okay. And this was probably one of my favorite message from the whole reading. So some of you have been researching the damn thing for like years, okay? You've read the books. You've listened to I don't know how many podcasts. You bought courses. And I say that because I've done it too. I'm super guilty. Back around 2016, maybe 2017, I was like consuming everything. I was watching tarot readings on YouTube, astrology videos, personal development books, and I convinced myself I was growing because I was constantly learning. But looking back, I was mostly consuming, right? I wasn't creating. I wasn't putting myself out there. I was not leading. I was waiting for someone else to tell me what was coming instead of creating what was coming. And that's one of the reasons I only do one energy update a month now. I don't want people becoming dependent on readings. I want you to develop your own discernment, because here's the question. You're consuming all this content, but what are you actually putting out into the world, right? There comes a point where another book isn't the answer. It's trusting yourself. All right, which naturally leads us into the next message that came through. And a lot of people wonder why their manifestations aren't showing up. And I'd actually ask a different question for this one. Is the version of me trying to create this life the same version that's been creating my current reality? Because if it is, why would the outcome change? The biggest message I kept coming back to this month was this. People are trying to build their next level from an expired identity. And that doesn't work for long. July feels like a month where that identity starts to fall away. Your standards change, your decisions change, the way you speak changes, the way you lead changes, and you stop chasing the life that you want and you start becoming the person who can actually hold it, because that is the embodiment piece most people bypass. So everything we've talked about leads here. July is not the final destination, it is the bridge. It is the month where old identities lose their grip and a new version of you begins taking the lead. And I also keep coming back to one phrase too, um, become the peaceful warrior. Now, to me, that came through as someone who knows what deserves their energy, someone who doesn't need to fight every battle, someone who doesn't confuse reacting with leading, who can hold more visibility and abundance and responsibility without collapsing back into those old identities, into that old into those old patterns. So that's the version of you July is strengthening. And there's one more thing actually that kept coming through before I forget for July's energy was that the people who grow the most over the next few months won't necessarily be the ones who know the most. They'll be the ones who stop trying to do everything alone. So looking back, that's probably the biggest thing I would have changed. I spent years trying to figure everything out by myself. Years of trial and error, years of learning lessons the hard way, because that's how I roll. And it's one of the biggest reasons I created the Identity Shift Collective, because becoming a new version of yourself is so much easier when you're surrounded by people who are growing in that same direction. So July is preparing you for that, and August asks you to build, right? So August is, from what I was shown, asking us to build truth, build on our discernment, build on our self-trust, and from the version of you that's finally stopped asking for permission, because that's the version capable of creating a completely different second half of the year. So I'd genuinely love to know, which one of these themes are you already feeling? Is your intuition getting louder? Are you seeing things differently? Have you realized you've outgrown an old version of yourself? Do let me know in the comments, because I read every single one and I love hearing from you. And if you are ready to stop doing this work alone, I'd love to welcome you into the Identity Shift Collective. Inside, I will be teaching my identity repatterning method through monthly live coaching and our private Voxer community, and a growing resource, a vault full of the tools and practices that have made the biggest impact and difference in my own journey and my clients. And for founding members, I'm so excited to bring this out to you. It's only $45 a month. And you'll keep that price for as long as you remain a member, but that price is limited. I will put the link in the description box below if you want to check it out. And thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.